Take a trip around the curve. Governor Gavin Newsom taps Emily List president and my girl, LaFonza Butler, who will be the first black lesbian to openly serve in the U.S. Senate. Congratulations, Senator Butler. Layoffs and furloughs have hit Hollywood data and research firms. Three of the leading Hollywood data and analyst companies downsized due to the industry strikes. MarketCast laid off 12 people, NRG laid off 30 out of 150 employees, and Screen Engine furloughed about a dozen. Cameron Mitchell is set to executive produce Double X Ponyboy Derek Double X, digital multi-week drama on OnlyFans and X. Woody Harrelson and Andy Serkis are set to star in the stage comedy Ulster American, and Gamora and Romanzo Criminal prequels in the works are at Sky. Laura and Romanzo Criminal prequels are in the works at Sky. The Queen of Versailles musical workshop adds F. Murray Abraham, Melody Boutu, and Nina White to Kristen Chenoweth. Speaking of Broadway, the Tony Awards moves closer to the theater district for 2024, and Gloria Estefan is writing music and lyrics for the new stage musical Five Notes. The Alchemist movie is in the works from legendary and TriStar. Workers at Walt Disney Pictures become only the second dedicated VFX unit to unionize with IATSE. Congratulations, y'all. Discovery Plus raises ad-free tier price to $8.99 per month. The move marks the first increase since the streamer's launch in January 2021. Winning Time's Quincy Isaiah, who played Magic Johnson, signs with Range Media Partners. Michael Cera, who we know recently from Barbie, signed with CAA. The Michael Jackson biopic from Antoine Fuqua locks international distributor Universal Pictures from the creative team behind Bohemian Rhapsody. DGA extends free healthcare coverage for strike-affected members through March, and UK unions and crew join London protests to call for swift resolution to the actors' strike. Johnny Depp's animated movie Johnny Puff Secret Mission seals deal ahead of the 2024 release. Starz greenlights the Hunting Wives series based on a book from Rebecca Cutler, Lionsgate, and 3 Arts. The Couple Next Door, Hugh Dennis and Kate Robbins board the Sam Heughan starring Channel 4 Starz thriller. The Eternal Memory, the latest film from Oscar-nominated filmmaker Mike Alberti, has landed a series of international deals. Kevin Costner's Western Horizon: An American Saga is to hit theaters in 2 chapters. And Hulu preps a doc about the world's most haunted house from Cash Cab producer Lion. Neon lands a U.S. deal for Babes, Pamela Adlon's directing debut that stars Lana Glazer, Michelle Buteau, and Hassan Minhaj. Universal sets Martin Luther King Jr. movie for Chris Rock to direct and Steven Spielberg executive producing. Paris Hilton's memoir has been optioned by A24 for 1111 Media. Continuing coverage of the New York Film Festival Year 61, currently going on in New York City right now, I will do a review of Fair Play, which is streaming on Netflix. A review of Foe, which is coming soon, and a review and interviews with the production team that's bringing us the story of Leonard Bernstein, Maestro, coming up on The Curvy Critic right now.
Hold up. Wait a minute. I wish you love, peace, and hair grease.
Love, peace, and hair grease, y'all.
Straight from the hip.
This is Carla Renata, aka The Curvy Critic, and I shoot straight from the hip.
Yeah, you know I'm always shooting straight from the hip.
Why was my mic muted the whole time? Let me come back on camera because that's just tragedy, tragedy. Hi, and welcome back. If this is your first time joining me, please give me a big thumbs up to let me know you are here. I am Carla Renata, and you have tuned into The Curvy Critic with Carla Renata that streams live every Sunday, either at 5 o'clock or a little after. Today it's a little after, so please forgive me. I was at the New York Film Festival, so we're going to get right into it, and I'm not going to waste any more of your time. And I usually tell people what I did the week before and all that, but we get into it. Let me tell you, I usually check my messages too to see what people are saying to me. And Brandon, always tried and true, has come through. And he says that Paw Patrol 2 crossed the 100 million mark in second place. He can't wait to watch it again. He can't wait for Trolls 3, Wish by Disney, Chicken Run 2, and Illuminations Migration. Ooh, child, you got a lot on your list. And of course, you're making me get a lot on my list. So thank you, Brandon. I appreciate you. So I saw a lot of films some of them I saw before I got to the New York Film Festival, and a lot of them I saw after the fact. But before I get into that, I was taken on a tour of Carnegie Hall. So I'll just show you this picture of me in Carnegie Hall. Isn't it beautiful? I'd never really been in there before and was really amazed at how gorgeous it is. But fun fact, so this photo right here of the ceiling, I know it's just, anyway, that photo right there of the ceiling is made up of light bulbs that Leonard, not Leonard, Andrew Carnegie asked Thomas Edison if he would do the lighting for Carnegie Hall. He said, of course, but they have to see the lights. You can't cover them up. So the original lights in that ceiling were designed and put up there by Thomas Edison. They have one of those bulbs hanging out in the museum part of Carnegie Hall where you can see what the older fixtures look like. But I just thought that was a really cool thing to add your way. And then again this week, when we get into the review of Foe, I did a Q&A of Foe with the director, Garth Davis, for Film Independent, which I do for them quite often during awards season and off. So we'll get into that review as well. And I was part of the New York Film Festival. So I love going there to cover that. It's a really wonderful event. It's not a film festival that is relying upon distributors and who's going to buy what film. So it's a lot more relaxed than most of the film festivals that happen during the year. But the three films we're going to get into today are, of course, Foe, which is directed by Garth Davis, which I just spoke about. We're going to talk a little bit about Fair Play. And then I have some interviews with people behind the scenes and below the line from the production team of Maestro. Of course, you guys know that a strike is happening. We are not able to talk to SAG members, but we are able to talk to people below the line, like production designers, sound designers, conductors, screenwriters, now that the writer's strike is over, and so on and so forth. So I have those interviews for you. But let's get into a little bit of Foe, since I brought that one up first. Like I said, it's directed by Garth Davis. It is streaming on Prime Video right now and has been doing so for the last 48 hours. It started streaming on October 6th. And Foe is like this. I'm going to come on camera and talk to y'all so you can see what I'm talking about here. Okay. So Foe is it's a very interesting film. It's like a sci-fi psychological thriller. It's directed by Garth Davis, like I said, and it stars Saoirse Ronan, Paul Mescal, and Aaron Pierre. If Aaron Pierre's name sounds familiar to you, he was one of the stars of Barry Jenkins's The Underground Railroad, which was on it was on television during the pandemic, and he was fantabulous in that. I thought for sure he would get some type of nomination, but alas, he did not. I was really impressed with his work there. But Foe is set in 2065, so it's set in the future. It's based on a novel by Ian Reid, and Ian and Garth adapted the screenplay together. And what I will say is, this is another film that's happening this year that's dealing with AI. So the creator is dealing with AI, and we had two films that were a part of the film festivals, either Venice Film Festival, Agro Drift, and what was the other one? Agro Drift, and I can't remember what the other one is, but these films are dealing with AI. It's a lot of movies dealing with, and The Creator, Agro Drift and The Creator were films that are dealing with AI. And immediately when I saw it, I was reminded of Logan's Run, which is a old film with Farrah Fawcett Farrah Fawcett and I can't remember Michael's last name, Michael York. Michael York and Farrah Fawcett were in Logan's Run, and it dealt with this police officer in the future who's trying to uncover this deadly secret behind a society that when you turn 30, they put like a little crystal in your hand and you die. It was a lot going on. Anywho, um, it reminded me of that and Blade Runner. So, and then there was another film that I remember. It was one other film at the Venice Film Festival called Here by Robert Zemeckis. And Tom Hanks actually said that he could see an AI version of himself acting after his death as part of his interviews that were done quite some time ago, not during the strike. So I'm not trying to throw Tom Hanks under the bus. Don't be saying that about me. But anyway, Foe deals with Hen and Junior. Hen is Paul Mescal, and I'm sorry, Hen is Saoirse Ronan, and Junior is Paul Mescal, and they live on this secluded farmland, which is like post-apocalypse, post everything, and they're now living in an AI world, and this piece of land has been in Junior's family for generations, but their life is now thrown into disarray and turmoil when the uninvited stranger, Aaron Pierre, who's there representing the government, shows up proposing a Starling proposal for them. So this is what I see happening in this film. At the beginning of the film, you see Hen in the shower crying over Junior. You're not really sure why she's crying. And it felt like she was probably crying over loss, crying over fear, crying all over these things. And at the end, well, not in the end, but in the middle of the film, we see another shower scene of her where the dirt is going down the drain. It's a really deep film. It's a lot to make you think about. And it's basically about living in a world where it's the end of the world, right? And so Aaron Pierre plays Terrence, and Terrence comes in offering them this revitalized new shot at life. What we don't already know is that it's already happened once, and I won't tell you how that goes down, but it's already happened once. But what I will tell you is there's a Skeeter Davis song called "Don't You Know It's the End of the World." The loss and the love that you actually experience at the end of the world with these violent dust storms and droughts, and it's so connected to how this story unfolds and how Ian and Garth have made it unfold. What I really loved about having Terrence in the film is that he's Black. I mean, unequivocally, he's a Black man. And usually in these sci-fi movies, they're the first ones to get killed or something nefarious happens with them. And he's actually the one that conducts the nefarious events throughout the film. So I kind of dug that. I dug his malevolent manipulation with Hen and Junior. And I loved that there was this beetle that kind of represented, we weren't sure if it represented the future, we weren't sure if it represented the past, we weren't sure, but there's so much going on. And I did a Q&A with Garth about it, and I spoke to him about it, and he pretty much was like, this is a situation where instead of trying to, it's like the end of the film. When you reach a point with a human being or a situation where you just run out of words and you don't know what to say, sometimes it's better to say nothing at all. And that says everything and nothing at the same time. And that's the best way to describe this film. It's not just a film about AI, it's a film about experiencing real human interaction and connection, and how far that can go when you're dealt with, what's the word I'm looking for? When you're dealt with unusual circumstances. Endings aren't beginnings. And you have to remember that in your whole entire life, people will tell you what you need, people will tell you what you want. But at the end of the day, what you want and what you need is most important, and how you feel about that. So that is Foe, you guys. It is streaming right now on Amazon Prime. Now let's get a little bit into Fair Play. I had talked about this movie before, and I had told y'all about Fair Play. This is a Chloe Dumont film, and all of these films that I'm talking about are streaming through the New York Film Festival until the last day, which is around October 15th. All right, so I'll just put that up for you so you can see that. So it's streaming. The streaming. The films started screening there on September 29th. They're part of Lincoln Center. You can see down there hashtag New York Film Festival 61. If you want information about the New York Film Festival, go to Film Link. FILMLINC.org. You can get the schedule there and find out where you can see these films that I'm talking about. And back to Fair Play. So Fair Play is a Netflix joint, and it is dealing with this one couple. It starts out, I got to tell you, when I first, I'm gonna come on camera for this. When I first started watching this film, I was like, oh, this is gonna be silly. It's gonna be that same, some crazy like psychological thriller about a couple, something nefarious happens. It was not that. It's literally about this couple who works together at a hedge fund company. The woman gets promoted, Emily, who's played by Phoebe Denevor, and Luke is her boyfriend, played by Alden Einrich, and Eddie Marson from Ray Donovan plays her boss Campbell. So in Fair Play, Emily ends up getting a promotion that Luke thinks he's going to get. And it's really interesting to see how all of these people respond to that one event. Luke doesn't take it well. Emily's trying her best to kind of cowtown down to him to make him feel better about himself, and it just pushes their relationship to a whole new level, and it ends in a way that you do not see coming. But it's going to be one of these films, and I believe I said this before, it's going to be one of those films. There is no gray area with this film. People are either really going to like it or they're really going to hate it. Why? People may really hate it because they don't like the way that the women are being portrayed in the film. They don't like the fact that Emily is trying to make this dude feel better. They don't like the fact that she's constantly compromising how she feels on the inside to make him feel better. That's why some women may be like, I'm not feeling this. But men may not like it because they're like, yo, I wouldn't be no punk like that. I'm not, going to roll over just because she got a promotion. It's deep and it's really interesting, and I highly suggest seeing it. So again, it is called Fair Play, and it is going to be on Netflix. Fair Play on Netflix, and Foe, which is streaming on Amazon Prime Video right now. So let's get into a little Maestro, shall we? Maestro has been getting rave reviews all over the world, especially at the Venice Film Festival and at Cannes. I think Bradley Cooper, who is the producer, director, and star of the film, got something like a 7 or 8 minute standing ovation for his performance in the film. It also stars Carey Mulligan as Leonard Bernstein's Leonard Bernstein's wife, Felicia Montelegre Bernstein. So I'm going to come back on camera and talk about this a little bit before we get into these interviews so that you understand what these interviews are and what's happening. So I got a chance to speak to the production team of this particular film, because as I said, with the strikes going on, we are not allowed to speak to the talent. So there was no Bradley Cooper, even though he is the director. He's still a member of SAG. He was still a member of WGA. So he could not be part of this junket. But I did speak to Christy McCosco, who's one of the producers, Yannick Nezet-Seguin, who was the conducting consultant, Josh Singer, who is the screenwriter, Mark Bridges, the costume designer, Kevin Thompson, the production designer, and Steve Morrow, who is the production sound mixer, along with Mark Bridges, the costume designer. And I think I said, did I say Mark? Yeah, I said Mark Bridges already. So I did speak to those people, and they had some wonderful things to say, but I just want to tell you some things that I found out. So I was at a reception at Carnegie Hall and ran into the Bernstein children, Jamie, Alexander, and Nina. And I had a conversation with Jamie Bernstein, and she was telling me about, if you remember the cartoon, The Flintstones, there's this cartoon not cartoon, but there is a cartoon that's not cartoon. There is an episode of the Flintstones that specifically refers to Leonard Bernstein. Um, and it was hilarious. And I asked Jamie when was the moment that she knew her dad was famous, and she said that was the moment when they saw that Flintstones cartoon, which I thought was pure comedy and hilarious. And what was also hilarious is, as we were speaking, and she was telling me some really wonderful stories about her dad and how she grew up and what it was like for them and what it is like to keep his legacy going, a picture of her dad popped up over my shoulder. And she was like, "Oh my God, that's me." And I turned around and it was a picture of her looking up at her dad very adoringly. They look just like him, y'all. They look just like him. But this movie, Maestro, that is screening at the New York Film Festival right now and produced by Netflix, is all about, it's not a biopic. It's all about Leonard Bernstein's love affair with his Costa Rican wife and actress, Felicia Montelegre Bernstein. We learned some things about him that we did not know. I became aware of him when I was a little girl in St. Louis because he used to come on television, and he actually conducted the orchestra in St. Louis before he went to New York to go to Carnegie Hall. So I became aware of him through my mother and through growing up in St. Louis and just seeing him there. But the film is not a biopic. It is a very well crafted chronicling of his family, his duality, his love of music, and his tortured existence in a world that at that time didn't necessarily embrace anything that was different from what society knows. And that's the best way to describe it. Bradley Cooper, to me, can do no wrong. He is wonderful in the film, especially a scene where he's conducting as Leonard Bernstein is absolutely, is breathtaking. I don't even have words for it. But the person who steals this movie 1000% is Carey Mulligan. And I gotta lean in for this one. I'm gonna need people to give Carey Mulligan her flowers while she's still here. This young lady turns in fantabulous performance after fantabulous performance after fantabulous performance, and she is always overlooked. And the same thing happens for Michelle Williams. And it is my belief that this happens to these two really gifted, magnificently wonderful actresses because their work is so fine-tuned that they make what they are doing look really easy. And as someone who acts and has acted on Broadway and on television, I'm telling you right now that what Michelle Williams, not in this film, she's not in this film, but what Michelle and what Carey Mulligan does in this film is bar none. You will not see another performance as spectacular as her this year. So having said that, and it will be streaming on, my show will be streaming on Netflix sometime in November, so you have plenty of time to see it. And I can give a more detailed, more crafted review then. But right now, I want to get into this interview. First, I'll get into the interview with the screenwriter, Josh, the producer, Christy, and the conducting consultant, Yannick Nezet-Negwin. And here we go. I wanted to find out, when was the very first time that you learned about Leonard Bernstein?
I didn't know much about Leonard Bernstein, but I loved musical theater growing up. And then when I realized as an adult, that's West Side Story. That's Candide.
That's what's up.
I knew that he was a master and that I loved his work. And I was an unknowing Leonard Bernstein fan at a very early age.
Okay.
I knew West Side Story when I was in college. I was an a cappella singer, and one of my friends in my groups was a fellow named George Steele who had studied with Lenny, and had this great note, which Lenny had written a recommendation saying I like his music, and George would tell these stories about Lenny, and I was sort of intrigued, but it wasn't until years later when someone said, "Would you like to write something about Lenny?" that I was like, "Oh, that's." And what was amazing to me was I had known West Side Story, but I hadn't gone deep on his music, and the vast nature of his original work, which we showcase in the film, just blew me away.
When I started becoming interested in conducting, which was very young, I knew I wanted to become a conductor when I was age 10.
Oh, come on, you look like you age 10 now. Come on, get out of here.
You're too kind, way too kind. The illusion of makeup. And at age 12, I started buying a lot of records, and Bernstein conducting Vienna Philharmonic, Brahms Symphony. Fell in love immediately with that conducting. So for me, it was Bernstein, the conductor, very much. Eventually became, oh, he's composing too. And that, of course, now I conduct all his music, so I knew a lot about him, but for me, it was first and foremost a conductor, which is interesting, I think, because it's, in the film, we talk about this, how for some people, he was more a composer, some people it was a music theater, some people it was a concert pianist, he couldn't fit in one tiny box. And I think that's what makes this character so compelling also for a film.
Absolutely. And I'll just share my moment, since I asked you to share with me. My moment was my mother and my uncle who sang opera. I became aware of him through them. And then eventually through West Side Story, because that's one of my mom's favorite films. So there's that. But I wanted to also find out from you guys, what was the most surprising thing that you learned about Bernstein in getting this film together? Because he was such a complex human being and so layered with his life professionally and personally.
The most surprising thing, I think, was to feel that he was not what we all think he was in terms of, was the marriage fake, or was it true that he was also loving a lot of men? All of this, I think, is presented with such honesty that he had, as the film says a lot, an open heart. So he really loved Felicia, loved his family. The children, we can see how much they talk about the love of their father. And yet he loved men too. And this film is actually exposing in all its truth that love doesn't have only one definition.
Leonard Bernstein was an omnivore. He wanted everything. He was insatiable. He needed everything and everyone, and he loved people, and he loved conducting, and he loved composing. Like there was nothing that satisfied him, but he loved it all.
Last but not least.
Yeah, I just echo what Yanni said, and there's this letter that Felicia wrote to Lenny in like 52, 53. They were just married, it was before they had kids, and it was a little rocky. And she wrote this letter and said, you are a homosexual, and may never change. I happen to love you as you are. Let's see what happens if you are free to do as you like without guilt or confession, please. And it was this extraordinary, open-hearted way of saying, let's see if we can make this work. Let's try this love that doesn't have to look like what love looks like in 1952, 1953. It was so ahead of its time. And, what is extraordinary about Lenny, and I really, internalized this when Bradley came on board and we threw out the first script and just started focusing on the marriage, was how unique and wonderful this family was. And that family was so modern. And Lenny couldn't live without it. When he tried, he couldn't live without it. And that was something that I think I'd never, certainly never known about Lenny. And again, I think is sort of a wonderful model for today.
Thank you so much for your answers. Thank you for opening your heart and giving me such beautiful answers to my questions. I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for the great questions.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I know, I'm so crazy. Anyway, let's get into the second interview, and then I will talk a little bit after that. So this interview, you guys, is with, so that just to recap, that was with the producer, Christy McCosco, the conducting consultant, Yannick Nezet-Seguin, and Josh Singer. And this one is with, hold on, let me get my name straight because I hate getting people's names wrong. The costume designer, Mark Bridges, the production designer, Kevin Thompson, and Steve Morrow, the production sound mixer. So take a look and a listen to this interview with these gentlemen. You know, I have to ask you this. I need to know about this Snoopy situation going by the window. I just need to know how y'all made that happen, because that apartment, was that recreated in a soundstage?
Yeah, that's from the legendary Dakota apartment building, and they lived on the second floor, which was about 2.5 floors up from the street level, and we built that at a soundstage and did backings outside the windows and built streets, and then the parade was actually added by visual effects.
Yeah, that was all visual effects.
Oh, really?
It was all visual effects.
Yeah, and they are amazing.
Yeah, they were.
Leaves on the trees and everything, all the little details moving.
But the sound in that scene, too, with the street and the parade and the window open and the party and the overlapping dialogue, and then them in the bedroom having that serious confrontation and the kids coming and knocking at the door and saying, "Snoopy, Snoopy," was really an interesting, difficult chore to mix all that.
I'm sure.
Exactly.
Speaking of difficulty mixing, I want to talk about the concert where Bradley is conducting. When you hear classical music in a sound hall like Carnegie Hall or someplace like that, it's all encompassing, and the acoustics in the venue take care of itself. But it's very different to film that and have that same feeling, you know, in the cinematic form. Can y'all just talk about that for a minute?
Yeah, I mean, I think the idea was always to put the audience in the middle of the orchestra, and so in preparing to record all that live, because he conducted it, you know, at the Ely Cathedral, anything you see on camera that's being played or sung was all done on set. And, you know, we took a lot of care and attention to make sure it was recorded in Dolby Atmos, because we've all heard orchestras on the radio and, you know, on TV, and we just wanted it to be a fully immersive experience for the audience so that you could really feel the emotion of what the character's feeling. You know, it had to match what you're hearing as well in the audience. So that was, you know, a technical challenge that we were able to accomplish.
It was very impressive. I was
you.
very impressed, because I go to a lot of opera and stuff, and so I was like, ooh, this feels like the real thing. I'm like, okay, y'all did that.
Yep.
I also want to talk about, from a costume and production design perspective, how much research material in terms of photographs of the actual properties and the clothing that Felicia wore were you able to reference from? And I know from Jamie that you guys actually used the house, the real house.
It's a well-documented life. We look and see, oh, this is when Felicia started wearing pants. This is Lenny's particularly dressed up here in the country. This is his turtleneck period, you know, and then you pick and choose and place those things where it's telling a story time-wise. And it's also interesting to look at, and it fits that moment in the script. So those pictures were very valuable for us understanding who these people were, how they lived, and how they wanted to present themselves.
Yeah, the references, which are many, give you, you start with that, and you build a foundation from that, and then you start the real design work. You begin to understand the intimacy of their life, and then you can go do your job.
Oh, it's
and
fascinating.
bring that to it.
You guys
spirit,
did a
you know.
wonderful, wonderful, wonderful job.
Thank
Last
you.
but not least, I'd like to know from each of you, when was the first time you heard about Leonard Bernstein?
I think when I was a child, you know, he was very available on television to young people's concerts,
Yep.
and bringing classical music to people of a young age.
He knew how to talk to children. That's when I heard about him. I saw the Young People's Concert.
Yeah, I mean, it was
I was a teenager.
Very
Yeah.
similar as
Yeah.
reruns for me, but
Yeah,
but yeah,
I'm the oldest. I got to see him. I saw them live.
Well, thank y'all for ingratiating my questions and answering them with such enthusiasm and joy. I
Pleasure.
appreciate you.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
bye. I really enjoy speaking to them because as you know, I love talking to people below the line and getting their thoughts on how they bring such masterpiece cinematic projects to the forefront for all of us to enjoy. I just wanted to tell you a few little facts about Leonard Bernstein, and let me just reiterate the reason a lot of people say Bernstein, it's Bernstein, like Steinway piano. So there's that. He was born in Lawrence, Massachusetts, to Russian Jewish immigrant parents, and he began playing at the age of 5. He is perhaps most well known for his work on West Side Story, which was inspired by Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. Everybody knows the story by now, and Candide. But he is very less known for his concerto compositions that he did for the New York Philharmonic. He is less known for his relationship with his wife, Felicia Montenegro Bernstein, who was an actress and very creative artist in her own right. And this film, as I said, is about their love story. And it is a beautiful love story. It shows the tenacity and the strength of women under any circumstances, regardless of who their husband may be. And I highly suggest checking it out. Like I said, it will hit theaters in November of this year. It hits Netflix in December. And I know that we're a couple of months out, but this review and this coverage is in conjunction with the New York Film Festival. So just keep that in mind. So let me just reiterate what I have spoken about today so that you guys will remember. We spoke about Foe, which is on Amazon Prime, Fair Play, which is on Netflix, and Maestro, which is coming to you soon. Before I get up out of here, I'm going to say this. Let me come. I'm scrolling past my thing to come back on camera. I love doing this podcast more than anything in the world. I love cinema more than anything in the world, and I love bringing it to you. I'm so happy that you guys tune in and you watch it, whether it's in real time or after the fact. It means that I'm about to get teary. It means the absolute world to me that you support me and that you listen to what I have to say. I'm very opinionated. I don't bite my tongue. I shoot straight from the hip. And sometimes my critiques may be a little vague, but I believe in not giving you the full pie and let you having a slice so that you can watch the full pie on your own. I don't like to do critiques that way. So that's my disclaimer. So the New York Film Festival, as I said, will be going until October 15th. So if you are in the New York area, please make your way over to Lincoln Center or go to filmlink.org, FILMLINC.org, and check out the films that they have to show there. They have a really wonderful lineup this year. They've basically been sold out, so it's going to be kind of tough to get a ticket, but I would imagine it'll be a little easier toward the end than it has been right in the middle at the beginning or in the middle. So having said that, I will see y'all next week. Same time, same bat channel. Let me just check and make sure I don't have any more messages. I do not. Oh, that was scary. So yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for watching. And you know, the pandemic is over, but COVID-19 is here to stay. So please wash your hands. Be vigilant about wearing a mask in public places if that is what you feel you need to make you safe and immune. There's a new vaccine out. If you want to get that, get it. If you don't, that's your prerogative. Get those flu vaccines because that will help you to ease up. We're getting into the winter months now, and it's going to be a little funky. So keep them hands washed, stay vigilant. And that is my little that's my little health disclaimer that I have at the end of every episode because I am that doll. Okay. Anywho, thank you again for joining me. And until the next time, love, peace, and hair grease. Deuces, baby.